Greetings and welcome back once again. This is Muna. Woo! I just did the review. I don't know why. It took a lot out of me. I just did the Antebellum review, so if you missed it, check it out on YouTube. For those who have just joined us, we're going to follow up on this little hair meme that I shared as a portion of the book. It's all your fault. It's all your fault. You are the one to blame. And if it wasn't for you, have you ever been around somebody like that? If it wasn't for you, and it's all your fault, and I should have known. My mama had told me. We have heard, if we haven't heard that, it may be because we're that person. We are that person that's always looking for someone to blame. I had shared that if you hear that often, you may be dealing with a narcissist, especially, or a narcissist of sorts. Not everyone, you have to check a certain amount of boxes to be like a full-blown narcissist, but they say, we all have narcissistic qualities. Years ago, I did a video with my mother on Am I a Narcissist, where I go, not me personally, but I named it that, to go over all of these checklists, these items to determine whether or not the person has narcissistic personality disorder. I think now, especially YouTube and everywhere, online MD, we have narcissistic personality traits, and then you have narcissistic personality disorder. They are not the same thing. To be a full-blown narcissist, you have to check a certain amount of boxes to qualify to be a full-blown narcissist. But one can pick up and have narcissistic traits, especially if they grew around a narcissist. A lot of times this is a learned behavior. So there are many ways that you can make a narcissist. Sometimes people think a narcissist just looks one way. And if you think that, what happens is you miss the principle of narcissism. And if it doesn't look the way that, you know, the person who's always looking in the mirror and it's all about me, and if it doesn't look that particular way, you think you're not dealing with a narcissist. See? And when the moment they got you, because they tricked you, because it kind of morphs, in my experience, to the personality of the person. So it may not look the same in everybody. You have something that they call covert narcissism. Right? So this covert narcissist is not boisterous, it's not grandiose outside. They don't, command all of the attention when they walk into the room, but they do it in another way. And that's what's called covert narcissism. So I say that to say there's narcissistic personality traits and qualities, and then there's full-blown narcissism. That's a conversation for another day. They also say that a lot of times narcissists are attracted to certain professions, because the thing about narcissism is you need a supply. It's like your gas tank. You need a supply of this energy that you need to feel okay and alive and not depressed, right? And so the people go into professions where they say a lot of narcissists are in the entertainment industry, because this is a place where people will laud their approval or their disapproval of you, and you can get so much of a supply of it. They say a lot of narcissists go into religion. I'm just saying what they say, y'all. I'm just saying what they say. They say, according to my research, I keep closing my book, a lot of narcissists go into religion, because religion has within it, and I'm gonna just relax a little bit. I went to the gym this morning. I'm a little tired. Religion has within it this built-in component that compels people to listen to the person who may be the narcissist, because they can hide behind God, they can hide behind God, they can hide behind scriptures, they can hide behind their holy books, and the people are giving them this adoration, this attention, and this respect, not necessarily based on that person's personality, but based on that person's devotion to what they think is spirituality. So you see a lot of pastors, like this pastor, what's his name? John Gray, who's always into some scandal over another. You see a lot of these pastors and these high officials within congregations into some drama, right? Eddie Long, he died now. But you see this drama around them because they have kind of like a charismatic personality that will lure the people towards them, and they're going to use it to exploit them. So again, there are certain in some places teachers, they say, which will teachers, entertainers, what's the next one I just said? Religious spaces. For those who just joined us, this is where they say a lot of narcissists flock. So in the community, in the conscious community, a lot of people I see are saying, that these people are off, these people are wrong, something is wrong with them. Because in the conscious community, oftentimes the monetary has been stripped, the ability, so then people start to gain knowledge, so that knowledge now becomes the currency in the conscious community. So essentially, you can be a bum, you can not do anything all day, you could just only be at your yard, cock up, ordering books off of Amazon, and as long as you have all of this knowledge and you've acquired all of this knowledge, when you're able to dispense it, that's a currency, and that allows you to now attract others who are looking for this knowledge. And once those who are looking for the knowledge come close enough, the narcissist, and not all people who are knowledgeable are narcissists, I'm just saying what they say are fields that narcissists tend to flock towards. So we see a lot of conversations around leaders and teachers exploiting people, and this may be the reason why they're getting this power source, and because they have not yet learned how to govern themselves, and they're still in this childlike phase in mind, they abuse people and they hurt people. Uzziah, what's going on? I mean, if we're going to keep it 100% gully, this is why we're seeing what we're seeing. I saw a post earlier just now where I don't even want to misquote what they said, but they said something to the effect that like the men in the community are, I don't even want to, it hit me, but it went. So if it comes back, I'll share. But that's just my thought on that is all your portion. Anybody have any questions or comments? Feel free to share. I'm just going to read a short part out of the book. For those who are wondering, the very first time, like I told you guys, I touched on all type of topics, you name it, because it's our real life. And if somebody can get some type of value, some type of direction, let me just say, when I couldn't identify what I was experiencing, it just felt like there was a black curtain, a dark curtain that there was over me, where you're experiencing something, but you don't know what it is, and it's off, but you don't know the proper name, and you didn't study psychiatry or psychology, so you're just lost. You know a behavior, but you can't pinpoint it, right? And so one of the first things, and it was actually my mother who mentioned when I'm explaining the person's behavior, and she was like, the person's a narcissist. And she said it very matter-of-factly. I'm like, what? Say that again? And if anybody knows me by now, boy, I did a deep dive. I studied, I dug up everything I could find. Because I was like, to me, I've heard the word in passing, but now that you can identify with the situation, I was like, a what? And then, you know what I mean? It's like the most I just opened up the heavens and you get to see, that's what this is. And that just started like this journey that I've been on, continue to be on. And I knew what it did for me. So this is why I share. Because I know how much it helped me to be able to identify and pinpoint what you're dealing with and the things within yourself that may be attracting this type of person to you. If you're attracting the same type of person in a different form, it's you there. It's you, hunty. Hunty, it's you. It's me. At some point, you gotta look in the mirror and be like, backside, I'm me. You know what I mean? You're looking over, it's that person over there, and yeah, they ain't never did me right. And then you're like, wait a minute, it's me. I am allowing for this energy to continue to come into my life. Something is going on with me. And so our outside reality is just a reflection of what we're attracting to ourselves in one way or another, consciously or subconsciously. And once we get that, then we can go about the business of seeing. It's like, what's that smell? You ever went to walk into the house and you're like, what's that smell? I know it's. And then you start sniffing it in the kitchen. I remember one time we couldn't find the smell. We look up, we look down, we look all around. We cannot find the smell. We're going at the fridge. We go under the stove. We cannot find the smell. And then, but it just kept stinking. Right? And then one day we just move away everything, move away the table, move away the fridge, and it was an onion. You know how sometimes you buy a lot of onion and then the onion like roll off the bowl and then fall on the floor, but it take a long time for the onion to like start to rot, you know what I mean? So the onion must have fell and rolled somewhere that it wasn't really visible. After all this time, we find the smell, right? And so that's kind of how it is, that you may think, I looked over here already. I looked in my childhood. I looked in my lineage. I looked at my parents. I looked at my siblings. I don't see anything. Keep looking. Isaiah says, sad but true. Keep sharing the info. It relates to us all, whether we choose to admit it or not. I agree, brother. I agree. Like I said, I'm like, Most High, help me. And the Most High helped me. And it's all through the reading. I've read, read, look, try to understand. And a lot of people, a lot of leaders, teachers, those who are positioning themselves as elders, kind of block the journey of the fullness of people really coming to this point where they purge and cleanse within, right? So they build this box, this constraint of, this is what it looks like to be religious. This is what it looks like to be spiritual, right? And the people, they're not really reaching the depths of the people. They're not really reaching the soul of the people. That's why there's a part within the text, within the scripture, it says, they healed the hurt of the daughters of Zion slightly, right? So you're not really getting down into on the soul level. They're just like smoothing it over. And what happened is the people go out still feeling unfulfilled. Like, yeah, I hear what you said, but that didn't do what it needed to do for me. This is something for us to be aware of. How's everybody doing? I just did a video. On the thank you for that, sis. I'll check it when I'm done. If I misspell something, let me know, and I'll check it when I'm done. I'll fix it after the live goes off. But thanks for looking out. Good looking out, sis. What I was gonna say. I have no problems if I misspell something, y'all. Let the kid know. Because what happens when you're reading and you're writing, sometimes it look right and then it ain't right. Okay, so let me see. So right now, in this particular scene, this Becca is off, right? Becca is lost. People might say, Becca look a lot like you, Muna. I mean, there's in writing, it's an opportunity to purge and cleanse. So in this particular situation, I know I read before where Becca ended up going back to the congregation because she was supposed to go off and get married, and it all fell apart. So this is a little bit before, and this is the person that she thought that she was going to marry, right? But she had gone. I don't even go that part. We'll talk about that another time. So I just want to introduce this little clip here. Sorry. What is your mother's number? He asked without saying hello. Do you want me to call her for you? Fine, he barked. The phone rang a few times. Hello? Mama, I have Brandon on the phone. I had already told her that the destination weddings was off, but wanted him to have his chance. Hello, Brandon. What's going on with you and my daughter? Miss, your daughter is crazy. He jumped right in. Crazy, she repeated, amused by his response. Yes, miss, very crazy, he replied. I hear a lot of troubling things, she paused. Miss Williams, I'm sorry, but I don't want your daughter. I'm sorry, y'all. Yo, oh man, I don't know about y'all, but sometimes when I'm writing, I be cracking myself up. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. Boy, that was funny. Although it was a serious moment, I couldn't help but snicker. Brandon was the same one just a few months ago asking for my hand. Now he is here trying to convince my mother I was crazy. She patiently listened to all his objections. I put my phone on mute so I wouldn't be tempted to cut him off. He skillfully shifted the blame from himself to me. I was the wild one, the impatient one, unfit for marriage. I had seen and heard enough of him to know that he and I could never work. And just like that, it was over. So that was the little backstory a little bit on that specific part, where you may be in a relationship, you may be on a job, you may be whatever, right? And the person is trying to convince you that it's all your fault. You're the reason, that all the blame should lie squarely on your shoulders. There's some people who, like I said, if they're not getting that, that's usually because they're the person. If you listen to the conversation and it's never my fault, I didn't do it, it was the other person's fault. Especially if you meet people who may have been in other relationships, and you be like, well, tell me what happened, and they're like, well, she was crazy, and you're like, oh, okay, and then you'd be like, yeah, and then there was another one, and they always have the reasons, and they're never in it. If it's bad, they're never in it. There's no I's in that conversation. It's always they, her, them, she. When we're talking about what goes wrong in matters, and you have somebody with that type of verbiage, then that's a clue that that person does not like taking personal responsibility for anything, and the chances are they're not going to. And where we end up getting in a lot of fights and contention and arguments with people is because now we're trying to force them to take. It's like they're like, oh no, can't touch this. Can't, nope, can't, nope. You're not putting this on me. You know what I'm saying? They're over here playing dodgeball with personal responsibility. And if we become more active in our listening, and I had to learn this, if we become more active in our listening early on, then we can hear and see these red flags, right? Before they become a detriment to us. There was like a warning sign that's down the road, and you're like, whoa, I'm not even going to go that way. And then there's a warning sign. It's right in your face. Now it's too late. Like the other day, I was driving up the road, and I saw this big plume of black smoke. I'm like, what in the world is on fire? You know what I'm saying? What's going on over there? That's very much different. That's telling me don't go that way. As opposed to I'm in the midst of this smoke now, where it is now compromising my well-being. You understand? So I say all of that to say, yep, that's the part there where it's not my fault. It ain't my fault. I think there was a rap song like that one time. It ain't my fault. It ain't my fault. You know what I mean? So yeah, this story right here is funny to me. It just makes me laugh. I don't know why. It's funny. But with that said, tell me how you're liking these little chats. The book is available on Amazon. If you do get a chance to read it, make sure you write your review. And we'll go from there. So with that said, thank everybody for tuning in. Share this with a friend. Have the conversation. And keep your peepers on, y'all. Look out. And if this is you, I'll just say this. If you're the person who can't seem to take responsibility for your actions, and you want to stop that, because sometimes it's automatic with the children. I'll just say this. I had to kind of mold it out of, especially my son, like make him very aware that evading responsibility for everything is not a good thing. And a lot of this mentality and behavior is in their formative years. It's when they're growing. And if the parent puts too much responsibility on the child, or if the parent spoils the child, that's why I said there's different ways that this narcissistic mind can develop. It's not just, oh, the person has been spoiled all the time. It could have been a defense mechanism for being neglected. You know what I'm saying? So, and I want to hold all of the adults in my life responsible because they failed me. And so then the person makes themselves this perpetual victim, right? And so therefore it's everybody else's fault and it's never my fault. So understanding that narcissism is not just formed in one way, right? And so making them aware that you have to, the part that you play, you take personal responsibility for. And there's another side of people who don't take responsibility and people who take responsibility for everything else. So oftentimes when children can't control their environment, then they would put what's happening from the adults who are not taking responsibility, and then they will take it upon themselves and say, oh, my parents wouldn't have broke up if it wasn't for me, or we wouldn't have been such and such if it wasn't for me. So then that child internalizes and takes, I don't even know what they call that. I'm going to have to go look what they call that. But now that specific soul, they take all the responsibility in their mind. So they go about in life trying to control everybody else and everything else, because they feel now that that's their responsibility. So something to consider. Thank everybody for tuning in. I'm going to go ahead and run inside now. And yeah, we'll be back to chit chat a little more. All right. All right.